Hello, my name is Miles Brown. I'm the president of the Clemson University Student Chapter of the Wildlife Society. And today I have Ben Bagwell here with me to show us how to make a food composting worm bin. Ben, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming today.
Oh, thank you, man.
Can you tell us a few advantages and why you would have one of these worm bins?
Well, it's really good for reducing the amount of kitchen waste that you throw into your garbage can, which then gets taken to the landfill. It's in doing this, you can like make worms to go fishing with, or compost for your garden. You can put in your houseplants or your garden, or give to your dad's.
And of course, if you're a college student like us, it helps to not stink up your kitchen because we don't take our trash very often.
Yeah.
So tell us like the size of the tub. Why is that important? What size should they be looking for?
Well, you're looking for a lot of surface area. You don't want a very tall bin because they work from the bottom up. So you're gonna want something very like wide. It's got a lot of width to it, not a lot of height. Something you can spread a lot of stuff down on the bottom of, and the worms have enough room to move around in it. Now, something like this, just a plastic tub you can pick up from Dollar General or Walmart or anywhere that has like Sterilite containers like this.
This tub costs about $5, by the way.
Yeah. You're gonna want something like opaque. You don't want anything clear because the worms do not like sunlight. They don't like being exposed to light very much. They'll get away from it as much as possible. So things on the exterior of the bin won't get composted because they'll avoid that area specifically. So if you do have a clear bin that you're wanting to use, you might want to spray paint it or something like that. Now, what you're gonna want to do is poke a bunch of aeration holes throughout this bin so that airflow can get through. The worms, for one, need oxygen, but also the bacteria that create bad smells and rotting food actually cannot survive in the presence of oxygen. So it will be beneficial to your nose and the worms to have some oxygen flowing through there. So what we're going to do today is drill aeration holes through the sides and the bottom of this bin in order to allow air to flow. Then we're going to add a bedding, which will moisten with just regular tap water, not at the point where it's very wet, but at the point where it's damp and moist. Not so that it'll drown the worms, but just enough to give them enough moisture to breathe with, since they breathe through their skins. And our bedding today, shredded newspaper. We just hand shredded it, ripped it into little shreds. So you can use newspaper. You can use just shredded leaves from like your paper shredder at home, anything like that. I mean, shredded documents from a paper shredder at home.
All right. So like I said, for this project, we'll need this tub. We'll need 2 lids for this tub. One to go on top, one to go on the bottom. We'll see that later. Trash bag of shredded paper. We'll use that for water. Put water in there. You need a drill. We're going to use a 1/8 inch size drill bit. And then you'll need about a pound of worms, which you can generally buy.
Yeah, there's actually there's a worm farm right here in Central. You can look him up on Craigslist. His name's Randy, the guy that owns it.
All right, and then you'll need water, and that's all you'll need other than some food scraps. So we're gonna get started here. We're gonna start drilling holes in this tub. So let's do it.
All right, let's get it done.
Just gonna drill in the bottom first.
Well, what's the most important thing to do here is mostly be drainage holes right here. So we'll probably just want to put not as many aeration holes, probably just like 1 at every corner here. Most of the aeration holes will go on the side. What we're really looking to avoid with these holes is standing water. Standing water is bad because it creates an anaerobic environment, which is an environment without oxygen.
Alright. And now we'll poke holes in the sides, and so this needs to be about 1 inch or 2 inches apart.
About 1.5 inches is what I did, I think, on my worm bin. It's been working out pretty good for me.
Alright. You go all the way to the top, or just about halfway up?
Probably about halfway up would be good, because your composting material will probably never reach that far. If you do, that's probably too much material.
So we have drilled holes in our tub, and if you're like me, you're wondering what is keeping the worms from coming out of those holes. So Ben, what keeps those worms from wanting to just escape?
They don't.
They don't. There you
It's
go.
very simple.
Okay.
Most of the time they will not, but strangely enough, on days when there's like a terrible storm or a hurricane, some of them may try and come out of the holes. And even if there's, I had a friend, that worm farmer I was talking about earlier, and he's talked about on the day of the tsunami that happened happened a while back in Japan, that he went down to his basement where he keeps his worms, and all the worms were on the floor. Just freaked out because of the tsunami. Not even near here. They just have some kind of weird sense.
So that can be a fun game with kids, just plugging holes and keeping worms coming out.
Good game.
Okay. So now that we have done this, what's next?
Well, what we're going to want to do is we're going to take our bedding, this is our shredded newspaper, as we said earlier, and we're going to want to start to add water to it.
Now how do they know how much they need?
Well, you really need to add water very slowly, and what you can do to test it is take a big clump of it in your hand and squeeze it when you think you might have the right amount of water, and if just barely, just like a little rivulet of water comes out of your fist, you know you got it. Not a whole lot. You don't want to be squeezing it and have water just dripping out of your fist, just like barely a little bit of water.
Alright, so we have a big bowl of water we're getting our water out of. We're going to use a cup. And our water is lukewarm, because the worms, they don't really care, but for some reason we want to do it warm. Because if I was going to be dumped in some paper, I would rather be warm.
I would like some body temperature water if I was going to be dumped in a new environment.
Nobody likes cold, wet paper.
Having technical difficulties.
It's kind of don't show on the camera up here.
Just kind of want to toss it up like that. Toss it around in our reusable plastic bag here.
So once again, you want to get all the paper wet but not soaked.
A little bit more water there.
Seem about right?
Well, let's do the test real quick.
Should do it in front of the camera, a little bit higher.
Yeah.
So you want to squeeze it and get most of the water out of it.
That's probably a little bit too wet right there. That is what you're not looking for.
A little too wet. This is my first time. But I suppose if you squeeze all the water out, then it's good.
Oh yeah, you can just squeeze it out. Make sure we got it about like that. That's about perfect.
All right, so let's put the lid underneath it before we do this, so it does not leak all over my nice apartment.
Excellent idea, Miles. Oh wait, there we go. It's nice and nested there.
All right.
You grab a fistful of bedding there.
Yes.
That's really fun.
We kind of want to make it fluffy, I guess.
Yeah, fluffy's good. The more air that's going through there, the better it is for the worms and the compost.
Now, you want to explain why you want to use paper and not just soil that you found outside?
Yeah, these are actually not earthworms. These are composting worms. They don't live in soil. They live specifically in rotting material that's full of carbon, like paper, leaves, things like that. You will not find these rooting around in soil. And the worm you're looking for when you go to your when you're looking around to get your pound of worms for your worm bin is Icenia fetida, is the red wiggler. Most any worm farmer will know what you're talking about. If they don't carry red wigglers, if they just farm night crawlers or something like that, they will probably be able to point you somewhere that does. Or you can just order them off Amazon. That's actually what I did with my first batch of worms. Is I just ordered them off Amazon and they sent them there like a just like a little mesh bag with a little packet of humidifier in there.
Alright, so that's all the paper?
That's probably good.
So you see it's about halfway full with shredded moist paper.
Mm-hmm. About 2/3 of the way full is advisable. Right here. Now this is our last step is to add the worms and we'll be good.
Alright.
Got our worms here and a little bit of compost from my bin.
And we're now spreading these worms out about in the bin, just so they don't get in fights from being too close to the company, I guess.
Really no point to that actually. I just like to be friendly with them. I want to stay in the gym.
Have great adventures in their new home. Okay, so the next thing is put food in it.
Yeah.
I guess that's really all there is to it. Now, didn't you say something about when you put food in there, you put something over top of them?
Yeah, it's a good idea to get like a wetted piece of cardboard and lay over the top of it, just so that when you do open the bin and poke around in there, it retains a little bit of heat. It retains a little bit of moisture and things like that as the food's decomposing in there. And it's just generally a good idea. It keeps out the fruit flies as well to have it covered. Fruit flies will be deterred as long as you bury the food in the newspaper. Now you might want to wait a week or so, just to get the composting started off good. But since this is an instructional video, we'll just immediately show you how this is done.
I know. What are some foods that you should put in that they like the most, and what are some that you should avoid altogether?
Things like onions, really smelly things, are inadvisable, but really they can pretty much handle any kind of vegetable waste, or even meat waste. Although it's not advisable to put meat in here because of the smell it creates. It's really kind of hard to keep meat from smelling as it rots. Now, one of the really good things you can get rid of is really green vegetables. Those decompose, no problem. Potato peelings, ends of onions and things like that, but just not whole onions. The greens will be fine.
And coffee grounds are great for them too, right?
Coffee grounds are excellent. The worms just eat them up. They're gone in about a day or two, in my bin at least. You can put the filter in all as well. They'll eat paper products. It's very good for them.
Alright. That's it?
And I think that's about it, man.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you learned something from this, and this is a great project. This took us about 15 minutes to make this whole thing, so it's not going to ruin your day to make one of these.
No. Great project to do with your kids. Teach them a little bit about the cycles of nature and things, the carbon cycle.
Alright, thanks for joining us.